All right, I think we'll get started now. Thank you everyone again for joining today's webinar. We're super excited for you to all be here today. I'm Tori and I'm the Partnerships Manager here at Osome. As you all know, today's webinar is going to be about why Hong Kong is a great place to start your business and the different types of visa options that are available if you're considering moving to Hong Kong. So from Osome's side, we have our wonderful Commercial Operations Manager, Catherine. She should be on the bottom corner there, who'll be sharing about what we do here at Osome, how we help startups and SMEs, and she'll be going through some of the most attractive reasons why people do start businesses here in Hong Kong. Then we'll also have Sam Chan. He is the managing director from VisaPro, and he'll be giving us some background about some various visa options that are available to foreigners looking to move to Hong Kong. And we'll also be sharing some relevant visa options relevant to today's topic. And last but not least, we have Janice Chu. She's the principal at JC Legal, and she'll be the moderator for the session today, open up the webinar for conversation and a discussion later. So just a couple of reminders, your microphones will be muted. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and Janice will try to get to them at the end of the session, depending on time. So we hope you're all going to be enjoying the event today and learn a thing or two about setting up a business here and some visa options that are right for you. So I will let Janice, Catherine, take it from here.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Tori. So, Tori, if you want to just start with the next slide, that would be amazing. And one over from that, it should say who is Osome. There we go. Perfect. So kicking off with who we are and what we do. So Osome is a digital professional services provider headquartered in Singapore. And we've been established there for 5 years. Then 3 years ago, we decided to spread our wings and expand to both the UK and Hong Kong. And we also have offices in Malaysia and Russia, and we're now servicing over 10,000 clients globally. We offer a one-stop shop solution for global entrepreneurs, startups, and SMEs, whereby we can assist with not only getting your business set up in Hong Kong, but also with all of the services that you will need to ensure your company is compliant after it's been registered. We have a team of in-house corporate secretaries and accountants to handle company registration, corporate secretarial services, accounting, taxation, payroll, and audit. And through our partnerships, we're able to assist with visa applications, opening business bank accounts, and legal services, to name a few. So it's our job at Osome to ensure that we free up lots of time for business owners by taking care of their tedious business admin so that they can focus their time and energy on what really matters. And that's building their team, developing their strategies, and growing their revenue. All of our services are rendered online. Therefore, rather amazingly, there is no need for our clients to step foot in Hong Kong during the entire process of setting up their company. And their business admin can be managed remotely as well. So it's entirely possible to have a company in Hong Kong and for the business owner to live elsewhere and to never have to visit Hong Kong, which of course is highly beneficial for a lot of our clients who are unable to travel to Hong Kong as a result of the pandemic. So if we just go to the next slide, please, Tori, which will take us to the advantages of setting up in Hong Kong. So let's move on to why you should consider setting up a business in Hong Kong. And there are several reasons why Hong Kong is an amazing place to start your business. I think a good place to start with this is by discussing the ease with which you can get your company up and running in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong encourages business owners to develop their businesses in Hong Kong by making the company registration process incredibly straightforward, inexpensive, and fast. In terms of what's actually required for setting up a business, you will need to appoint at least one director who is an actual person rather than a company, and they can be of any nationality and residency. This is, of course, hugely advantageous for foreigners wishing to set up a company in Hong Kong, and it means that you don't have to go and find a local person to act as a director for their company. And this is often the reason why clients end up choosing Hong Kong over other jurisdictions with similar business-friendly environments, such as Singapore, where a local director is required. And it has the added benefit of keeping costs down, as you won't need nominee director services. Every registered business in Hong Kong must also appoint at least one shareholder, and they can be an individual or a company. And again, they are not required to be a local. As well as at least one director and one shareholder, an appointed corporate secretary is also a legal requirement. Now, when I first moved to Hong Kong, I had no idea what a corporate secretary was or what they were responsible for. As a formally appointed person in this position is not actually a requirement for companies in many other countries. However, in Hong Kong, this position is mandatory, and it can be filled by an individual or a body corporate such as Osome. And this corporate secretary is responsible for ensuring that the company is compliant throughout the year, for example, by filing mandatory government documents such as the annual return, and for updating the government anytime changes are made to the company, such as adding a new director or shareholder to the structure, transferring shares, etc. So to make things as simple as possible for our clients, we include unlimited corporate secretarial services in our incorporation package. So all of this is taken care of for our clients from day one. So we've covered that you need at least one director, one shareholder, and a corporate secretary. The fourth thing that is required is a Hong Kong registered office address. Again, we will provide this to you as part of our incorporation package. And as part of this service, we will receive mail on behalf of your company. And with your permission, we will open, scan, and upload those letters to your Osome dashboard on the day that they're delivered. When it comes to share capital, the company can issue any number of shares in any value and in any currency. Therefore, you can start with as little as $1 Hong Kong in share capital. So there shouldn't be no restrictions there. And that's it. Those are the key requirements for registering your business. Hong Kong doesn't throw in any obstacles that could potentially make it difficult to set up shop here. Now, on to the second advantage, which our clients are always keen to know more about, and that's Hong Kong's tax system. So Hong Kong has an extremely attractive system of taxation. To begin with, profits tax is very low. 8.25% will be charged on a corporation's first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profits. And after that, profits above that amount will be subject to a tax rate of 16.5%. However, the good news doesn't end there. Hong Kong follows a territorial system of taxation. Now, in simple terms, this means that a person who carries on a business in Hong Kong but derives profits from another place is not required to pay tax in Hong Kong on those profits. Other tax benefits include no sales tax, no dividend tax, no capital gains tax, and no withholding tax. Now, some of our clients find this almost too good to be true, but I'm here to confirm that this truly is the case in Hong Kong. The third thing I'd like to discuss is SME support and assistance. A number of programs and financial incentives have been established by the Hong Kong government to help startups and SMEs start and grow their business in Hong Kong. Organizations such as the Support and Consultation Center for SMEs, which is also known as Success, is a comprehensive information and advisory center for SMEs. And they offer advice and free consultations on, for example, employment policy, intellectual property rights, and data protection to help ensure you're on the right side of the law without having to fork out large sums of money on legal fees. They're also extremely well versed in the numerous government funding schemes available to SMEs. Another reason why Hong Kong is a great place to set up a business is due to its liberal economy. Hong Kong has repeatedly been crowned the world's freest economy, due in part to its free trade policy and absence of trade barriers, i.e. there are no tariffs or quotas on imported or exported goods, which means the sky truly is the limit with trade and earnings from trade. As well as that, Hong Kong has a highly trained, well-educated and skilled workforce who are typically fluent in English and Cantonese and often Mandarin too. So you have a large pool of talent to choose from if you're deciding to build a team here. Lastly, Hong Kong has a well-established and transparent legal system. It's separate from mainland China's, and English common law prevails. And there are distinct rules and regulations concerning trade and commerce, employment, taxation, and other business-related areas, which again makes it a very attractive place to set up and operate a business. Okay, Tori, I think we're ready for the next slide. Thank you so much. So now that you've heard the reasons why you should set up a company in Hong Kong, let's talk about how you go about this. So the first step is to have a free consultation with our team, during which they're going to get a better understanding of your needs, and they'll confirm the services that will be needed in order to meet those needs. After this has been determined, we will issue an invoice, and once that's been paid, you will be invited onto the Osome app to complete your onboarding. During your onboarding, as we like to keep everything digital where possible, you'll be asked to complete online identity verification, which simply involves taking a picture of your passport or Hong Kong ID if you have one, and submitting a short selfie video. And we'll also ask for a copy of your proof of address. And that's all that we need in terms of documentation. We will then ask you a series of simple questions about your business. For example, we'll ask for the company name, a description of your business, who the directors and shareholders are, and so forth. And after we've gathered all of the information that we need, we will submit your application to the company's registry. And typically the company will be up and running within 2 to 3 business days after that. And frequently it's even quicker. So the next slide. Thank you, Tori. Why Osome? So we know there are lots of service providers out there. So why should you choose us? We have put enormous effort into developing a platform that is user-friendly and labor-saving for our clients. All company documents, for example, your certificate of incorporation, articles of association, any board resolutions, share certificates, etc., will be stored on your dashboard so that you can access them at any time and there's no risk of misplacing them. Calendars highlighting important dates, such as filing deadlines, are displayed on your dashboard, and documents can be signed electronically. So, for example, a board resolution that's required for appointing, say, a new director could be signed with an e-signature through our app, rather than a wet signature where you would have to print out the document, sign it, and then post it back to us in Hong Kong. Our app also has an inbuilt chat function, and I always like to describe this as almost like WhatsApp, but within our app. And through that chat, you can speak with your designated corporate secretary or accountant at any time, and you can expect a response within 15 minutes during regular Hong Kong business hours. So there's a big focus for us on response times. Where our platform really shines, though, is when you use our accounting services. We have integration with Xero, which is cloud-based accounting software that connects to banks like HSBC and DBS, money service operators like Neat, Airwallex, Currency, and payment platforms such as Stripe. The benefit of this connection is that all transactions are pushed through to Xero on a daily basis. So the onus is no longer on the client to download and send over bank statements at the end of every month. We can automate a lot of reconciliations, and all of this really streamlines the process and allows us to provide financial information to you much quicker than through traditional methods. And for e-commerce clients, we can also connect our app to platforms such as Amazon and Shopify. So again, sales reports will feed into our system in real time. Another reason for choosing Osome is that customer satisfaction is truly our #1 priority. The mantra that we work by is go above and beyond, and we will do everything in our power to ensure clients have a good experience with us. Finally, we do not believe in hidden costs, and unfortunately, hidden charges are very common in this industry and are something to watch out for when choosing your provider. For example, we include unlimited corporate secretarial services in our incorporation package. And this means that if you need to make any changes to your company throughout the year, for example, adding a shareholder, then we will handle the necessary paperwork for these changes at no additional cost. So there's no risk of any nasty hidden charges throughout the year. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that presentation, guys. It's over to Sam from here.
Thanks a lot, Catherine, for the detailed description about the company formation side. This is Sam from VisaPro. I'm the managing director. VisaPro is dedicated to all the kinds of Hong Kong inbound visa and immigration services. And we've been here since 2006. And then we every year, roughly, we're assisting around like 7,000 cases. Altogether, we have around 7,000 cases, around like 600 to 800 cases a year. We have clients from all over the world, nearly 90 countries. So for all continents, small, large countries. So far, we have around 100% success rate with money-back guarantee. Of course, we have to assess the case first before we can offer this money-back guarantee. But if we offer this, it's actually fully refunded if the case is not successful in the end. For over around 90% of our cases, we do offer 100% money-back guarantee. Also, we do a lot of different clients, including the large multinational companies like Zurich Insurance, Johor Bank, but also for a lot of startups too, small companies, medium-sized companies, and startups. Startups here, we have been working with Club, Flash Coffee, Indigo, or the Hive Business Center in Hong Kong. We can do, yeah. So what we do is an end-to-end service for all different kinds of visa applications, starting from a free initial consultation. So to start with, normally we talk to the clients to understand the full background of the sponsor or the company or the applicant in order to assess the case and to choose the most appropriate visa type. And also, when we start, we do send a tailored list of documents rather than just download a standard list of documents in which the list is tailored for the specific case. For some cases, maybe for most of potential entrepreneur cases, we do need a business plan, or immigration doesn't need a business plan. We will help draft the business plan, finalize it for our clients. Most of our clients will not actually spend more than half an hour in it, and we can help them to finish and complete it with a immigration-friendly template. We will act as the representative so that immigration will ask us, VisaPro, for any questions or inquiries after we file the case. So that saves a lot of time and effort from the applicants. And also, we talk to them. It's important for us as an agent to talk to immigration officer directly on the phone because they tend to write to ask questions, but anything in writing may not be 100% exactly showing the intention of those questions. So we actually tend to talk to them after we receive an additional request. So that would help enhance the success rate to the maximum. And finally, after the case is approved, we'll take the visa label, and in 1 or 2 year term, when the visa is about to expire, then we will do visa extension reminder, normally 2 months before. We do all kinds of Hong Kong inbound visa, including dependent student training, of course, but the most relevant visa types here today for today's topic would be the 3 listed here. Employment visa, investment visa as entrepreneur, we simply call it investment visa, or quality migrant admission scheme, QMAS. So we'll go through each of them specifically in the below slides. So for the 3 kinds of visa types here, let me give you a quick glance first. The key condition, so of course, for the employment visa, you need a job offer in Hong Kong. It could be your company, it could be not your company. For investment visa, though, the applicant have to be a major shareholder of this Hong Kong company. For QMAS, it's all about points. It's either general points or achievement-based. We can quickly talk about achievement-based here, which normally means a very high award like Nobel Prize, Olympic medal, or a highly recognized industry award per se. So normally people or most applicants go through the general points system, which calculate the points based on your education, your career history, etc., to score certain points. We'll go into details later on. So you can see that, and for the rest, the processing time is not a lot different between like employment and investment, which takes around 2 to 3 months, but for QMAS, it takes like 6 to 9 months. So that's something to be aware of. Investment visa does not necessarily require the applicant to have a bachelor degree. So this is a certain advantage for some applicants, while a bachelor degree is certainly required for employment visa or QMAS. Also for the profitable related business, which is the last row, it basically mentions that if you have a profitable overseas company that's been running for certain years, it will be an advantage for you to go for the employment visa rather than investment visa. And no matter which kind of these 3 visas you go for, you will have the same Hong Kong resident status, and in 7 years' time, you can apply for the permanent residence if you like. And also, your spouse and children under 18 can all apply at the same time. Let's go into details for the employment visa. So for the employment visa, it's mentioned that a job offer with Hong Kong company is required. If it is a new company, then a business plan is required. We definitely, if it is a new company, then we definitely need to show the overseas company's financial statements. So if you have a Singapore company, it's been running for so many years, and then you would like to set up a subsidiary of that Singapore company in Hong Kong, when we apply for the visa, because the Hong Kong company is new, we need to show the financial statements of the Singapore company, which ideally to have good amount of revenue and certain amount of profit. There's no fixed amount per se, but we need to show that it's a healthy company that can support the Hong Kong operation in general. And then for the Hong Kong company, we need to show that there is a physical office. For here, I mean, I understand that not many of you would like to rent your own office from the very beginning. Immigration nowadays accepts the case where you go for a co-working space. At least, but then you cannot be just a membership member, or it could just a virtual office or hot desk. It has to be a dedicated desk as a minimum for at least 6 months a contract. So this can fulfill the requirement of the physical office. For the applicant, bachelor degree plus, and then the 3 years plus relevant experience will be required. So it's actually suitable for a case where you have a profitable overseas company, then transferring the existing shareholder or an employee to Hong Kong. So this is the employment visa. Let's go for the investment visa in details. Investment visa is, as compared to employment visa, is a little bit more difficult. And then it's suitable for a case where it's a totally brand new business idea or a business, a group of companies. So there's no overseas company or no overseas profitable company that can show as a financial support. In this case, if the applicant is also the major shareholder, we have to go through the investment visa. There are certain requirements. We need to show that the applicant has at least 1 million Hong Kong dollars or equivalent as a bank balance, and that has to be transferred to the Hong Kong company bank account when it is ready, to show that it's kind of a capital injection, and to show the immigration that if the company has the sufficient amount of capital to set up its operation in Hong Kong. A business plan is definitely required. And then we also need to show that some potential revenue is coming. Ideally, if you have got a signed contract, that will be very useful, but a letters of intent would already be sufficient in this case. Physical office is the same as the employment visa requirement. We need that. And also finally is a sponsor. The sponsor here not your employer anymore. The sponsor here is any Hong Kong permanent resident to be your reference. So it's just sign 2 pages of form and provide them a copy of the ID card. So you can see the investment visa is in general a little bit more difficult than employment. But then if the applicant is already holding an employment visa in Hong Kong, which is still valid, there are certain advantages. You don't need to show 1 million. Instead, you just show 300,000. And rather than 3 months processing time, it's just 2 months. And in general, the success rate will be much higher. So if you have an employment visa, which is still valid, even though you have left your current company, current employer, then it's still a very good way to keep your Hong Kong visa by transferring that to investment visa. So the final visa type is QMAS. There is a full list of areas that you can score the points, but basically the passing mark is 80. But then from our experience, it's not enough for you to get it approved. Roughly, with the current 4,000 quotas per year, which is increased from 1,000 a few years ago, we recommend that you at least have 120 points in order to try this visa type. We'll talk about a typical case with 120 points later. As part of the application, we need to show your plans to contribute to the Hong Kong economy. It could be you joining a company as an employee, or you set up your own business. It's a three-step process where we start with application with immigration, then they pass it to a quarterly review committee, which is where the industry leaders are sitting in the committee to review all the cases in that batch. So there are 4 batches a year. And after this is passed, then the applicant needs to meet the immigration officer in Hong Kong in person. So that's why it takes so long to complete it. You'll see how you can score 120 points here. I'll show you the typical case. For someone, for example, age below 40, master's degree, including a degree, either the bachelor or master, in one of the top 100 universities around the world, then you score extra points. Finally, if you have got 5-year experience, including 2 years senior role, to show as part of your career history, all together with the language, assuming you know either English or Chinese or both, then you can easily score 120 points here. So that could be one of the good options for you. Although it takes much longer to get it done, the benefits of it is you don't need to commit nearly anything before the visa is approved. You don't need to set up a company, you don't need to rent an office, you don't need to send the money. So basically this is, and then you're free to go to different companies to work for when your visa is approved. So those are the key benefits of QMAS, and that's why even though it takes so long, people are still actually go for this. Finally, there are some other considerations for you to understand quickly about these 3 visas. Overall difficulty level, employment visa is easiest, QMAS most difficult, and then investment visa is currently still not available or not applicable to mainland Chinese residents. Visa patterns is quite similar, but for an investment visa, you need to be aware that it could be just 1 year if a business review is required when immigration reviews case. If they feel more comfortable with the business setup, they could give you 2 or 3 years, but if not, then just 1 year. Visa extension is very easy for employment visas as long as the company and the job is are still ongoing, then you can easily get this extended. Investment visa, as mentioned, business review may be required in this case. You need to show the financial statements, office rented, employee, recruiter, etc. For QMAS, it's basically about the proof of the contribution plan you mentioned from the beginning. Finally, you only switch job without approval if you're holding the QMAS. For employment visa or investment visa, if you want to switch to different companies, you need a prior approval before you can do it. And it normally takes around 1 or 2 months to get that approval. These are all about today for the visa options that I would like to share with you. And then, as I mentioned, we have 3 visa types. First, QMAS, which is the employment visa. Second, investment visa, which is the investment visa. Third, investment visa, which is the QMAS. And then finally, QMAS, which is the QMAS. finally, I would like to mention that we would when we review a case, we'll choose the most appropriate visa type for you, and in order to make that make the visa approved as soon as possible and with the easiest manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Catherine. So I'm Janice. I'm the moderator for today. So I'm I think the seminar today is very interesting, especially when Catherine shared about the key advantages of starting a business in Hong Kong, a brief overview of incorporation process in Hong Kong, and also how Osome can help the entrepreneur and SME in Hong Kong. So of course, Sam also shared very valuable insights about the visa opportunities. If you want to come to Hong Kong, right, what kind of visa you can apply in Hong Kong, and the visa options as well. So please feel free to send us your questions, so I can actually put this question to the speakers for today. So the first question I got from the participants today is, if let's say he or she would like to start a business in Hong Kong, whether he or she can apply, sponsor his visa. I believe what he means to us is about whether the company can sponsor, his own company can sponsor his visa. Can I give this question to Sam?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Janice. Yes, for example, if someone would like to set up a new company in Hong Kong, assuming there is no overseas company to act as a sponsor, though investment visa application would be an option here. So in this case, the company will employ the owner applicant. Or even though if I set up a Hong Kong company, I'll be the major shareholder, and this company will employ myself to be an employee, first of all. And then for the sponsor, here means not the employer, not your own company, but you need to find someone to be the sponsor. The sponsor could be any Hong Kong permanent resident, which could be your friend or business partner, to access that sponsor. The sponsor here doesn't really mean a lot of liability or responsibility. The liability kind of for this sponsor needs to bear is the flight ticket for this sponsor to send you back to your home country if the Hong Kong government would like you to. So basically the government just don't want to bear the repatriation cost, and that's why the sponsor is needed. But this sponsor cannot be your own company.
Okay, thank you, Sam. So I have another question. Actually, are there any tips that you can share with the foreigners who want to apply for employment or investment visa in order to put a strong case when they submit the applications?
Yeah, sure. For employment visa, because the immigration focuses a lot of the qualities of the employee plus the financial background or track record of the company. So a very good CV will be required from the applicant, including the education, like bachelor degree or master degree or any relevant training or professional qualification will definitely show it to immigration. At the same time, the CV needs to be detailing the job duties of the prior jobs, and normally will help a client to package the CV, because the CV is now not for applying jobs, it's now to apply for the visa. So we have to make sure that the job duties in the past are truly relevant to the new role in Hong Kong. So hopefully, I mean, if the title is the same, that will be easier. If the title is not, then we need to find some way to correlate the two. Oh, that's the part of the applicant. For the company side, if the overseas company can show good financial statements like audit report or tax report with profit, that will be very important. If unfortunately the overseas company is still at the loss stage, for most of the startup, for example, we need to show a very good bank balance. Then Very good bank balance here may mean around $1 million Hong Kong or equivalent. For the investment visa, though, a very good business plan will be an important part, because there's no track record of the company. We need to show that the company has a very good prospect in this case, rather than track record. So in this case, so putting in a very attractive business idea and how this idea could be relevant to the Hong Kong economy is important. So if you tell them that you're just buying something from China and selling it in Europe, then it doesn't mean too much to Hong Kong. But if you are doing something relevant to the Hong Kong business economy, say you're setting up like Flash Coffee, they're setting up many shops in Hong Kong, then it's important for immigration to know that, well, yes, this company will help contributing a lot in the rent and also the recruitment of Hong Kong people. So these are very important to put up the very strong case for the investment visa.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So I think that right now, if let's say I want to apply for an employment visa, I need to make sure that I have a relevant past working experience, right, in order to put on a strong case. Okay, I'll remember that. So I have another question, but this question is actually for Cat 3. So I believe lots of people might be interested. Do you think the political situations in Hong Kong is affecting the business here?
Well, thankfully, it's business as usual here. We haven't observed any noticeable changes to business in Hong Kong. I mean, companies continue to thrive and business owners continue to choose Hong Kong as a place to register their business. There are no signs of slowing down in Hong Kong. We saw 110,000 new private limited companies registered last year compared to 98,000 the year before. Ultimately, Hong Kong's inherent strengths still remain intact. So we discussed them during my presentation, namely it has low tax, it's a financial hub, has a productive workforce, a free economy. And the reality is that Osome would not still be here if we didn't see huge potential in Hong Kong. So we don't see any problems in the future, thankfully.
Okay, thank you. So I'm confident to be here as well. Okay, so there is another questions. Actually, it's for Sam. So it's actually from Jonathan. So I have heard rumors that the employment visa rejections rate is rising in Hong Kong, including for routine visa extensions. Can you comment on some of the most common reasons for visa renewal rejections?
Right. I think it includes two parts or two major industries here. So one is the pilots or aviation side. Some pilots were experiencing problems with the visa extension in these 2 years, basically just mainly because of the industry-specific issue. But then for most, immigration actually was pressing for the company to confirm the continuation of the employment before they grant visa. I mean, it's not the standard visa extension process, but they ask for additional documents or promises. But those was just about the pilots or aviation industry. The other part would be more on the media side, or so some media companies, I understand there were some difficulties to get renewal for a certain type of journalists. But I think these are more political consideration, to be honest. But for 99% of the other employment or jobs for the visa extension, I believe there are no issue at all. Immigration starting from January last year specifically allow people to do extension even though the applicant is not in Hong Kong. So it's a standard requirement normally for the applicant to be in Hong Kong for the extension, but because of COVID, they specifically allowed that to happen, and it still keeps allowing that up to now. So I don't see a particular issues in general for the visa extension, except for some exceptions. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. So we have another question. It's about bank account opening, which I wanted to ask Catherine already just now, but we have a participant from Robert, right? So he's asking, apart from needs, what are the possibilities of opening a bank account in Hong Kong or overseas? So basically, what are the options if, let's say, he or she want to open a business account in Hong Kong?
Yeah, for those that don't know, I'll give a bit of background as to who NEET are. So NEET are a money service operator, and they're known as MSOs in Hong Kong. And these are companies that offer online business accounts. These business accounts operate in the same way as a traditional bank account, in that you can collect, hold, and transfer money in and out of the account. They are beneficial in that they are free to apply for. There is no initial deposit or minimum balance requirements. You can apply fully online, and the application process for these MSOs tends to be less cumbersome than with the traditional banks. Now, Robert, we do have other options other than NEET. We partner with multiple MSOs. I touched on them earlier in the presentation. Air Wallets and Currency are also two that we work with. You've asked, are there other possibilities? And I'm assuming that you mean outside of the MSO realm. Most of the traditional banks in Hong Kong unfortunately do insist on the company directors attending a meeting in Hong Kong during the application process. And that, of course, is almost impossible at the moment with the 3-week hotel quarantine restrictions that we have in place. So that does make it very difficult from a traditional bank perspective, but we do work with one bank. They're called ABC Banking Corporation. And this bank is a Mauritius bank with a Hong Kong branch that's been approved by the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And they do, as I say, offer remote account opening services. So that could actually also be an option for you as well if you were open to considering an offshore bank account.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
No, I will just add as well that there is no requirement to have a Hong Kong bank account attached to your Hong Kong company. So if you have a good relationship with a bank elsewhere, you could certainly speak with them to see what your chances are of applying for a bank account that is domiciled in a different country that you could potentially use for your Hong Kong business. So that's an option as well.
Okay, thank you. Interesting.
Sorry, Janice, may I add something here around the bank account? For the bank account, more people would actually ask a lot around the bank account when they apply for the visa. So basically, it is ideal to have a company bank account ready as part of the application. But because of COVID, immigration does know that it's very difficult for people to get a traditional bank account opened during these days. So first of all, they allow the applicants to have the bank account with the MSO that Catherine just mentioned, like NEET. So we do have approval cases for people who had a NEET account to show that to immigration. And also, because people would like to get this done as soon as possible while the bank account is in progress, we can still submit the application first. And in around a month or two time, that when the bank account is ready, then we can supplement the immigration. So hopefully the bank account will not be too much an issue for you as a barrier to come to Hong Kong, set it up, and get a visa.
Okay, thank you, Sam. So this question is, I wanted to ask this question, Catherine. So I wanted to know what are the costs to set up a company, and also if, let's say, I set up a Hong Kong company, what are the annual costs that I have to pay to maintain a company?
Perfect. Yeah, good question, Janice. So our all-inclusive incorporation package costs 5,000 Hong Kong dollars per year. And this includes a number of services, 4 services, which are essential to setting up a company in Hong Kong. The first service that it includes is the company registration itself, of course, and it includes 2,000 Hong Kong dollars worth of government fees. As well as that, it includes a registered office address, unlimited corporate secretarial services, and a business registration certificate for 1 year. Now, as well as the company obligations that are covered by the incorporation package, companies will also have accounting filing requirements here in Hong Kong. So specifically, that means that the company will have to complete the accounting work from the date of registration right up until the end of the financial year. And this, of course, will have to be repeated every financial year. And as well as that, you will have to file a profits tax return and submit an audit report on a yearly basis. Now, the good news is that we can help with all of that as well. We base our accounting and taxation packages on the yearly revenue of the company. So as I mentioned before, we would have a free consultation with prospective clients to determine which packages are the best fit for them. And then once we've established the right packages, as I said, we're very transparent with our pricing. Everything would be provided to them upfront. We would send over an email after our discussion with it, highlighting all of the different costs that are involved. And then from that point, the client can decide if that works for them. The final cost to consider is the audit fee. So the audit fee is actually not a cost that falls into your first year. It's a cost that falls into your second year and every year after that. And the reason for that is that audit fees are your first audit report is not due until 18 months after the company has been registered. So in that case, we will send over the closed books that our accountants have completed to the auditors. They will review those books and they'll take into consideration a number of different factors like the number of transactions, the complexity of those transactions, the revenue, etc. And then they will come up with a quote based on what they've reviewed. We would then present that to the client, and if they are happy to proceed, we'll also handle the audit for them too.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
No.
So, yeah. Sam, I have a question actually from the participant today. So here is the questions. If I quit my job here in Hong Kong to start my company, how long do I have to apply for an investment visa? I think it means how long do I need to apply for an investment visa? Is there a time limit?
Right. Thanks, Janice. There's basically no specific time limit for that. Assuming you've got a 2-year employment visa, which is expiring January next year, for example, and now you quit your job. So you have still 12 months to stay in Hong Kong legally, going in and out of Hong Kong, no problem, except for the quarantine, of course. But then during this 1 year time, you cannot work for anybody except you got for until you get an approval. So when should you start this investment visa application is a question of when you want to set up the company. We can only submit the application once your company is formally formed, and it takes at least 2 months for immigration to process it. So my suggestion is normally within around like 4 or 5 months before a visa expiry, say September this year, you should start the process. And hopefully you can get the visa approved by December. So then this gives you some room, a month or two, that if the investment visa is rejected, you still have some time to find a new job to get it extended.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. So there is another question, which I think is quite interesting. So when changing from an employment visa to an investment visa in Hong Kong, is it legal to start working for your own company before the investment visa is approved?
Unfortunately, no. It's a standard answer from immigration. So although you are legally to set up your own company as a shareholder or even as a director, when a company is formed, you cannot work legally for your own company in Hong Kong until you get the investment visa approved.
Okay. So
yeah.
there is a follow-up question from the same participant. So when you say major shareholders, Do you mean over 50%, or could it also be 40% with other shareholders, with 35 and 25%, for example? So.
Right. It's a very good question. There is no definition actually from immigration, to be honest. We have tested the bottom lines throughout the years of experience with them. I would say around 30% shareholding is kind of a minimum to be a major shareholder to apply for the investment visa.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah, and also as a follow-up comment is that people would ask whether having a Hong Kong permanent resident as the shareholder or director be helpful to the case or not. It basically does not have too much difference in the success rate. But of course, if you've got a Hong Kong permanent resident as a shareholder or director of your own company, I believe that person would be happy to be your sponsor, which you have one less problem or one less matter to be concerned with.
Yeah, but in short, does that mean that the immigrations you also consider other considerations, like other factors that you mentioned just now? For instance, like a good business plan,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those are more important than having a Hong Kong permanent resident as your partners.
Okay. So I have actually another question for Sam. Why should people consider the employment visa? So, I mean, in short, I just want to know if, let's say, I want to come to Hong Kong, right? So is it easier to apply for employment visa, or it's better to apply for investment visa? Is it the threshold for investment visa is actually higher than the employment visa in short?
Yes, basically investment visa is more difficult than employment in general and takes longer. So that's why whenever we've got a choice, we'll advise our client to go for the employment visa. Okay. This is applicable for the application as well as the extension.
Okay, but based on your experience, if let's say if we submit first attempt for employment applications, if it fail, right? So do you think there is another chance for second time? Do you think the chances would be high?
The second time of employment visa, you mean?
Yeah, if the first time rejected.
If everything's the same applicant, the same company, same job title, then the second application would be very difficult to get it approved. But if the applicant joins another company, or if the first case was the rejection reason is about the company, which is not too strong, then he joins a new company, then maybe the chance would be higher. But if the rejection reason is about the education background of the applicant, then unfortunately it's very difficult to get it approved with the employment second employment visa application. But at the same time, if the first employment visa got rejected, and if the same person goes for the investment visa with his own company, then it could still be a chance for it, because it's reviewed by two different teams with two different sets of requirements. So depending on the situation, sometimes we did actually advise that rejected the case client to go for the investment visa, and that could be approved. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the insight on this. So we have 3 more minutes, but I have a last question from the participant. Actually, how much time do I need to spend residing in Hong Kong each year if I have my investment visa here? Sam, pass it to you.
Sure. Yeah. It's basically there's no fixed requirement by immigration. So for your visa extension purpose, basically you don't need to come at all if you don't want to or don't need to. They don't review your stay pattern as part of the visa extension in general. But then we still advise you to at least come like around a month, a year, to maintain the saying that you're running your own business. But also, apart from the extension, you also someone will consider the possibility of getting the permanent residence after 7 years of stay. If this is one of the goals, then I suggest the applicant should stay around 3 months a year in general. And for every 6 months, you have to come to visit Hong Kong at least once. because this is one of the requirements, one of the area that they will review when you apply for the permanent resident.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone. So shall I pass it to Tori? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Janice, Sam, and Catherine. You guys were amazing. Hopefully everybody here got to learn a little bit about opening a company here, what types of visas are available to come to Hong Kong. So I know there are a lot of questions that we didn't get to. In the chat, I did leave 2 links if you're interested to ask any questions about Hong Kong. Feel free to ask there, or feel free to email us. If you want to get in touch with Sam or Janice, feel free to also email us. I can respond and give you their contact details after this as well. So this will wrap up the session for today. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next time at our next webinar.